episode of Boxing News today, and we've got a few stories to go over. After scanning the headlines, it seems that there's quite a bit of excitement brewing for that big December 23rd matchup down in Saudi Arabia, although the comments seem to be from boxing fans that there's a variety of mismatches at play. So we'll see how that turns out, obviously. And let's have a quick look here, an update. NABF super lightweight champ Steve the Dragon Claggett in an all-action fight defeated Miguel Medueno for the WBO international title in the main event on Tuesday night, held at the Montreal Casino in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. News courtesy of Eye of the Tiger Management, also out of Montreal. Good stuff for Mr. Claggett. All right. What is confusing most people is how one fellow who has one fight and loses it enters the top 10 rankings of the WBC. However, that is exactly what has happened at the 61st annual WBC convention taking place in Uzbekistan. The eagerly anticipated ratings kicked off in the heavyweight division with the unveiling of Francis Ngannou's name coming in at number 10, making his professional debut merely a month ago. An interesting fight without a doubt, but lots of discussion since, lots of things to read about it if you want to follow up even further. But it was interesting to note a little further down the line. The other major development that we noticed on the WBC rankings board was they voted to switch places of number 12, Joe Joyce, and number 14, Daniel Dubois. The move was actually suggested by Mauricio Suleiman to Frank Warren, after Warren asked to see Dubois move up from number 14, citing his performance in his world title fight with Oleksandr Usyk, which, as we all know, he lost. If Danielle and Joe were to be switched, would that satisfy you? Suleiman asked Warren. Yes. Joe will not be happy with me, but I have to be fair, said Warren. Interesting, and the level of politics, quite frankly, involved in that decision. Speaking of politics and the ongoing battle with Conor, Benn, and the various British Boxing Board of Control over there, although in good standing with the WBC, and he's still under investigation by the BBBOC, a process in the form of an appeal of a result of a test, whereby he was removed from the sanctioning body's rankings following inactivity and not having a fight schedule. He's back now to box, but without a British license. Conor Benn has returned to the ring in a 10-rounder against Rodolfo Orozco in Florida. His first fight and win at the super welterweight, the limit of 154 pounds. So in the latest WBC's update, the undefeated Brit has been included at the number 5 spot in the top welterweights. Again, that's behind Cody Crowley, who recently lost his legal battle in Quebec, Canada. Suleiman Kishiko, Josh Taylor, and David Avanesian. And Mario Barrios is also rounding out that top 4. All right, so there we go. Ben said after hearing that announcement, he was number 5, that he's actually gunning for the number 1 spot. Two-weight world champion Natasha Jonas, 14-2-1, 9 knockouts, will defend her IBF welterweight world title against former unified world champion Michaela, who's now 19-1 with 5 knockouts, on Saturday, January 20th at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool, England. Jonas will be making the first defense of her IBF crown, she claimed, with an emphatic stoppage win over Canadian Candy Wyatt earlier this year, having previously unified the WBC, WBO, and IBF junior middleweight world titles. Newly crowned British champion, Little Lever's meat cleaver, Jack Cullen, 22-4-1, also returns to action, defending his Lonsdale strap against former foe Zach Chelly, who's 14-2-1, by the way, in a repeat of their all-action 2020 contest that ended in a draw. Boxer, that's BOXXER founder and CEO Benn said 2024 promises to be a monumental year for Boxer and Sky Sports, and we're thrilled to kick things off with another massive fight for women's boxing as Natasha Jonas defends her world title against Michaela in a matchup set to showcase the pinnacle of the sport. Natasha and Michaela are two fantastic athletes, both former Olympians and world champions from both sides of the Atlantic, ready to put it all on the line to secure their legacy. Ben Davison is currently training Anthony Joshua, who is training for a fight against Otto Wallin, set to take place in Saudi Arabia on December 23rd. If the rumors are true, and they should be being confirmed as we speak. Davison will, in fact, be Joshua's fifth coach over the past 2 years. He parted ways with longtime trainer Robert McCracken following his first defeat to Oleksandr Usyk, then worked with Robert Garcia and Angel Fernandez, but split after losing to Usyk for a second time. He then partnered up with Derek James for his wins over Jermaine Franklin and Robert Helenius, but as we all know, Derek James is now training with Ryan Garcia. So James will remain Joshua's permanent coach, but as I said, unable to train him for the Wallin clash due to his commitment to Garcia, who has a fight on December 2nd. And that means Davison will help out Joshua only on a one-time basis, with training camp already underway, apparently in Davidson's Essex gym. As a side note, it's interesting to note that Davison previously was in the limelight as a trainer when he helped Tyson Fury throughout his comeback to the ring quite a few years ago. Also fighting on December 23rd, it looks like Dmitry Bivol is going to have his hands full with Lyndon Arthur, who has won his last 4 fights since losing to Anthony Yarde via 4th-round technical knockout in might not have been technical, might have been an actual knockout in 2021. It would be more interesting, says boxing247.com. It would be more interesting if Yarde were the one facing Bivol, as that would be giving boxing fans a chance to compare Dimitri's performance against the British fighter to that of IBF WBC WBO champ Artur Beterbiev. Bivol versus Arthur will get on the undercard, as I said, of the anti-Joshua Otto Wallin fight, which Joshua's headlining, even though he's no longer a world champion. The other notable fight on that card involves former WBC heavyweight champ Deontay Wilder fighting Joseph Parker, another former WBO champ. As I noted at the outset of this show, boxing fans have been rather critical of the December 23rd card, noting that virtually all the fights are mismatches or very close to it. As we all would have preferred to see, we would prefer to see Joshua fight Wilder, and that would be a great main event. But these two guys are getting old and been out in orbit around each other for the past 5 years. The Saudis should have insisted that Joshua fight Wilder instead of facing other opposition. That's just blunt. Other notable fights, as I mentioned last week or maybe earlier this week, are Arslanbek Makhmudov versus Ajit Kabayal, and Filip Rogovic is going up against Mark Demori. So that's shaping up to be a pretty good card for its entertainment value alone. Speaking of the heavyweights, though, it looks like Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk have reportedly set a date, it says badlefthook.com, for their undisputed championship fight. It looks to be being held, as I see, in Saudi Arabia. Let's have a quick look here. We'll meet an undisputed heavyweight title clash on February 17th. Again, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Fury's 34-0-1, 24 knockouts, and putting his WBC title on the line, as well as his lineal claim, while Usyk, 21-0, 14 knockouts, will be bringing the WBA, IBF, and WBO titles to the fight. And let's see if that happens. Okay. Last word to Bob Arum. He's feeling optimistic that he'll be able to make a fight happen between Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia for February. Ryan, he's 23-1, 19 knockouts, has a fight before that against Oscar Duarte, on December 2nd, and it's iffy whether he'll come through out victorious. Again, courtesy of BoxingNews24.com. Teo versus Ryan would be business level fight rather than a sporting one, as they say, because King Ray has beaten nobody in the 140-pound division to earn a title shot against the WBO light welterweight champion Teofimo Lopez. If Ryan climbed the ranks like other grunts by getting in the trenches and proving he deserves a title shot, you could understand fighting for a belt against Teofimo. The fight should be a sporting thing, but not strictly for business purposes either, thanks to Ryan's popularity on social media with his 11 million Instagram followers. Arum will need to give Ryan an offer he can't refuse because he's already being mentioned as the next opponent for Devin Haney if he's victorious in his fight against WBC light welterweight champ Regis Prograis on December 2nd. Many boxing fans aren't eager to see Ryan thrown to the wolves by facing Teofimo, 19-1 by the way, 13 knockouts, in one fight removed from his 7th-round knockout loss to Gervonta Davis last April. If Ryan were to earn the fight by beating some solid contenders at 140 to show he's back from that loss, it's still fighting well then. While Golden Boy didn't match a 25-year-old Ryan against one of the killers in the 140-pound division, the guy that they picked is still better than anyone that he's beaten before, and he has his hands full. Duarte, 26-1, 21 knockouts, is hungry, and he's a great opportunity to set himself up for some serious life-changing money by beating Ryan. We're hoping to get that fight done sometime in February, said top-ranked boss Bob Arum. In the meantime, Garcia has a fight against Duarte, but I don't think there's going to be that much difficulty. Teofimo Ryan fight together for the end of February. That's what he says. If Ryan gets that fight, he'll be likely knocked out within 6 rounds, says this writer, and it will be difficult for him to rebuild his career. However, Ryan's massive followers, many of them teenagers, won't abandon him after the defeat, so he'll still be a popular choice for champions. With Ryan's ability to market his fights to his 11 million followers, he can turn them into moneymakers, even if he repeatedly loses and becomes a journeyman. Wow. Harsh words for one of our favorites here, Ryan Garcia. I'd like to thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for your comments, Sadari. Appreciate it. Yes, we've often mentioned a Grand Prix super tournament in boxing, and there are other boxing leagues now springing up that are interesting as well. Different formats, but nonetheless offering some change for boxing fans rather than same old, with control by a few of the oligarchs out there, namely those who have the ABCs behind them. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thank you very much. I'll see you again tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for Boxing News Today. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk and Fight. Appreciate it. Remember to catch Mike Orr for his show Knuckle Up at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and The Sugar Show later on at, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.